I stayed at a Vermont inn and found out it was hiding a deadly secret. No one believes me, but the Whispering Pines Inn tried to kill me. I don't know how to start this, and I'm still trying to convince myself I'm not crazy. My name's Clara Winters, and I'm a writer. Last month, my fiancé and I decided to take a weekend away at a small, out-of-the-way inn in Vermont called the Whispering Pines Inn. We thought a quiet weekend would help fix the fact that our relationship was, well, fading. We should have just stayed home. The first time I saw the Whispering Pines Inn, I thought I'd found a slice of paradise. Nestled deep in the green hills of Vermont, the inn sat like a memory from a simpler time. White clapboard walls streaked with ivy, windows catching the afternoon sun, and a wraparound porch that creaked gently under the breeze. I, Clara Winters, a writer with more novels behind me than joy in front of me, had convinced my fiancé, Ethan, that a weekend there might rekindle whatever it was we'd lost in the grind of life, deadlines, and the monotony of our apartment in Boston. We drove up the winding lane in silence, Ethan glancing occasionally at the trees outside, and I pretending not to notice the slight tremor in my stomach, a sense of anticipation that had little to do with romance. The inn's owner, a tall man named Gideon Hartwell, appeared just as we reached the parking area. He had dark hair combed neatly back, gray eyes that seemed too sharp for warmth, and a smile that was polite but calculated. He greeted us and led us inside, showing us to our room with the kind of formality that suggested pride, or perhaps caution. The room was everything one might expect of a quaint Vermont inn: warm wood floors, an antique writing desk, a four-poster bed, and heavy curtains that framed the view of the surrounding woods. There was a faint scent of pine, mingled with the tang of something older, something hidden. I brushed it off, telling myself I was imagining it. But the feeling lingered. That night, sleep came fitfully. I woke once, feeling as though someone was standing in the corner of the room. Shadows pooled unnaturally, thick and black, as if they belonged to another place. I blinked, and they were gone. I shook my head, blaming the stress, the lingering tension with Ethan. But then I heard it, a whisper. Soft, almost like the rustle of leaves, yet distinctly a voice. Clara. My eyes shot open. The room was empty. Ethan stirred beside me, but remained asleep. Heart hammering, I pulled the blanket up to my chin, telling myself it was just a dream. But the whisper returned, and this time it was clearer, urgent. The story must be told. I froze. The words did not belong to my imagination. They belonged to something else, something older than the inn itself. By morning, I was certain of it. I had been called, somehow, to uncover a story buried in the walls of Whispering Pines, a story that had been left untouched for decades. Over breakfast, I tried to convince myself to ignore it. But my curiosity was insistent. Ethan chatted idly about the plan for the day, and I nodded, but my mind was elsewhere. I could not shake the image of the shadows or the whisper of my name. Later that morning, I wandered the halls of the inn. Gideon appeared as if by instinct. Exploring already? He asked, his tone polite, though his eyes held a quiet calculation.
Just looking, I said.
It's a beautiful place. He smiled, but there was a shadow behind it. Many things happen here that people don't see. Be careful where you tread, Ms. Winters. His words lingered with me, a subtle warning that somehow confirmed the pull I felt toward the inn's hidden past. I began my investigation in earnest. I visited the local historical society, poring over brittle newspapers and yellowed records. Whispered rumors surfaced, tales of disappearances, sudden deaths, and a fire that had supposedly consumed part of the inn long ago. Every story conflicted with the others, yet a pattern emerged. There was something dark buried here, and someone had gone to great lengths to conceal it. Gideon's interference grew subtle but persistent. He would appear unexpectedly during my research trips, casually questioning my motives, offering cryptic warnings, and sometimes leaning just a little too close, his intensity unsettling. Yet I could not stop. The more he resisted, the more I felt compelled to uncover the truth. One evening, alone in my room, I found a loose floorboard beneath the rug. Hidden underneath was a small, dust-covered diary. The handwriting was spidery and uneven, the pages brittle with age. I read about secrets no one in town spoke of, betrayals, hidden rooms, and a night that had ended in tragedy. The words painted a picture of greed, jealousy, and violence, and they all pointed to the Hartwell family, the inn's founders and Gideon's ancestors. The whispers returned that night, louder, guiding me to the attic, a place I had been told to avoid. The stairs creaked as I climbed, and the air grew colder, heavier, as though resisting my intrusion. In the attic, amidst forgotten furniture and cobwebs, I discovered a sealed chest containing letters, photographs, and documents. Each piece of evidence confirmed what I had begun to suspect. A crime so horrific had been buried beneath the charm of the inn that the very walls seemed to remember. Gideon confronted me the next day. His calm demeanor was gone, replaced by a dangerous edge. You don't understand what you're meddling with, he said. Some truths are better left buried. I have to know, I replied, my voice steady, though my heart pounded. He stepped closer. Some truths will cost you more than you can imagine. I did not flinch. I had already glimpsed the consequences of silence. The day I confronted Gideon, the air in the inn felt charged. Even the sun seemed reluctant to shine through the tall, narrow windows. He had warned me that some truths would cost more than I could imagine, but I was past caring. I needed answers, and I would not leave until I had them. That evening, I returned to the attic, armed with a flashlight and a resolve that felt heavier than my own body. The steps groaned under me, each one echoing through the hollow space above the inn. The chest I had found days earlier sat in the same place, dust motes swirling like tiny phantoms in the beam of my light. I opened it again, inspecting the letters and photographs, trying to piece together a story that felt like it had been waiting for me for decades. One photograph made me pause. It showed a group of people standing on the very porch I had seen just days ago. Gideon's grandfather stood in the middle, stern and unyielding, and beside him, a woman whose eyes stared past the camera as though pleading for help. I could feel the intensity of her gaze even now. Another letter, written in shaky handwriting, described a night of betrayal and fire, a hidden room, and a promise that no one outside the family would ever learn the truth. I heard a sound behind me, a soft creak. My flashlight swung, catching Gideon at the top of the stairs. His face was a mask, calm but unreadable. You shouldn't be here, he said, voice low. I told you some stories are dangerous. I don't care, I said, moving toward him, clutching the letters. I have a right to know what happened here, and I won't leave until I do. His eyes flicked to the papers, and for the first time, I saw the faintest crack in his composure. But then he smiled, slow and deliberate, the same controlled charm that had drawn me in from the start.
Right, he said.
Then let's see how far you're willing to go. The attic door slammed shut behind him, though I had not moved to close it. Shadows stretched along the walls, dark and twisted, moving in ways that made my stomach churn. The whispers returned, louder now, insistent, echoing through the rafters. Clara, you must see, you must see. I froze, trying to steady my breathing. The letters felt heavier in my hands, as though they contained more than paper and ink. They were warnings, guides, keys. I could feel the truth pressing against my mind, demanding release. Gideon stepped forward, his hand brushing against mine as I held the letters. A jolt ran through me, not of attraction, not entirely, but something deeper, primal. He leaned close. You shouldn't have done this, he said. You don't understand what this place is. I understand more than you think, I replied, keeping my voice steady. This inn has been hiding a crime for decades, and now it's my responsibility to reveal it. For a moment, silence. Then a low rumble, like the building itself was groaning, and the shadows in the corners of the attic seemed to coalesce, reaching toward us. I stumbled back, dropping the letters. Gideon's eyes widened, not in fear, but in something darker. The shadows surged, curling around the edges of the room, and I realized I had underestimated the inn. This was not just a place where secrets were buried, it was alive with them. The air grew thick, almost solid, and a heat rose from the floorboards. Flames? No, not real flames, but the memory of fire, of destruction, of lives ending in terror. I knew then that the whispers, the visions, the pressure I had felt since arriving were not just warnings, they were demands. The inn itself wanted the story told. Gideon lunged, grabbing my arm with surprising strength. If you tell anyone, if you ever expose this, I won't be the one you need to fear. I yanked free, adrenaline surging. I'm not afraid of you. The attic seemed to respond, the shadows retreating slightly, as if they recognized my resolve. I gathered the letters quickly and turned toward the small trapdoor at the back of the room, the one that led into the hidden corridor I had discovered the night before. Gideon followed, his footsteps echoing behind me, heavy and purposeful. The corridor was narrow and dark, the air smelling faintly of smoke and mildew. I stumbled over a loose floorboard, scraping my hand, but pressed on. At the end, a door, ancient, iron-bolted, blocked the path. I fumbled with the key I had found tucked in the chest. My hand shook, but finally the lock clicked. The room beyond was small, almost a shrine. Burnt furniture, charred papers, and faded portraits lined the walls. The smell of ash lingered, carried across decades. And then I saw it, the hidden journal of Gideon's ancestors, chronicling in painstaking detail the events that had led to the fire, the disappearances, the cover-ups. Gideon appeared behind me, his face twisted in a mixture of desperation and awe. You shouldn't have found this, he whispered. I had to, I said, my voice rising with a certainty I had not felt before. The truth will not stay hidden. For a long moment, we stood there in silence, the weight of the past pressing down on both of us. Then Gideon stepped back, his expression unreadable, and I realized he had surrendered. Not just to me, but to the inevitability of revelation. I gathered the journal and the letters, feeling the enormity of what I now held. The inn had been alive with its secrets, testing me, warning me, guiding me. And I had succeeded, not because of strength alone, but because I had refused to turn away from what demanded acknowledgement. The next morning, Gideon left the inn without a word. He never returned. The staff whispered among themselves, some hinting that the Hartwell line had finally been broken, others saying the inn had simply expelled him, the way a storm clears a sky. I did not wait for permission or recognition. I packed the documents, photographs, and letters carefully, and as Ethan and I drove away, I felt the first real sense of liberation I had known in years. The whispering pines receded in the rearview mirror, a silent sentinel of history and horror, its secrets no longer hidden. I did not look back. Whatever haunted that place, whatever shadows lingered within its walls, had been given a voice through me. And for the first time in a long time, I felt the unshakable knowledge that I had done what I was meant to do.